everybody, welcome back to my channel. I'm Kassiah. This is SiahSwag. I have a amazing bag for you today. You guys, the Crafty reporter, Amber, released a pattern today called the Hellcat. It is amazing. It is such a cool bag. You've probably seen this type of design around before. It's a lot like the one video I did before this, but different. Same but different. They each have their cool details about them, but I am telling you, this is such a cool design. She did so good with this. I'm so impressed. Okay, so let's go over this. I have made 2 so far. I've learned a lot, and I feel like my 3rd one is gonna be perfection. These are great too, but you know, there's always a learning curve, and I learned a lot of things. So she gives you everything that you need. She has cut files, the SVG files, projector files, full picture pattern. It's amazing. You could just go off the pattern alone. It is such a good written pattern. Very detailed. So there's all these fun little overlays. There is a crossbody strap cut out to make this cool crossbody strap out of vinyl here. Look, I did my little tag right there. Isn't that cool? And she has the cutouts for the connectors here. She has 1 inch and 3/4 inch option. I've done both. I think I like the 3/4 better just because it's easier to sew around when you're finishing the bag. These were a little bit bigger and bulkier. Totally doable. They both look great, honestly. She does piping on this bag. Mine needs some work. I'm still working on my piping skills, and she gave me some tips and tricks, which I tell you in the video. This bag is meant to be all out of either bonded nylon, polyester, canvas, like those type of materials. She does not recommend vinyl for this bag. It is doable. It would be just very challenging because of some thick seams and kind of how you have to manipulate the bag to sew it. I would highly recommend sticking with the fabrics that she suggests. No interfacing except for on connectors and vinyl pieces, which is amazing. It cuts quick. It sews up fabulously. You guys are going to love it. So this is the first one I made. This is the bat material is from Tulip Bee. All the hardware is from me. And the zipper tape and the thread. This inside lining on this one is from Wonderground. How cool is that? I think it's a new Halloween one that she got in. I hope she carries it year round. It's got a slip pocket in there. If you can see it, it's kind of hard to see. And then it's got a back pocket here and a front pocket here. So lots of pockets. Love that option. All of my webbing is from Emporium Threads. And this handmade webbing is fabulous. If you haven't ordered any of this, highly recommend it. Okay, so here's the one we do in the tutorial today. Again, this is Tulip Bee on the outside, Wonderground on the inside again. It is her Smoothie Smooth is what it's called. I will link it below. There's the front. Here's the back. The webbing. Oh my goodness. I mean, you guys, it is such a fun detailed bag. And then I did a little tassel clip here, which I love. You could do tassel pulls too. And then the inside of this one. This is a bound bag. It is fully bound. So grab some fold over elastic, and it is not that hard at all. You can totally do it. I will be selling some hardware kits, I hope, on my website. I hope to have them up tomorrow if you wanted to get all the hardware you need for this bag. And I don't know what she listed as. I would say this is a advanced beginner, almost intermediate, just because of all the different little details, the piping, the binding. But as I say with everything, Take your time, go slow. You can do it. You guys are going to love this bag. I promise you, you will love it. I have seen it done. I think Jen, Minnie in the Mountains, did it at 80%. It was super cute. Just a little bit sized down. You know, feel free to play with that. And let me know if you guys have any comments, questions. I'd love to answer them. I hope you enjoy this tutorial. I hope it's helpful. Go snag the pattern. You guys, if anything, support an awesome, awesome sewer in our community. She's the best. And I want to give a Patreon shout out to Francie Singer. She has been a Patreon threadhead for 2 years. I cannot believe I've been doing Patreon for 2 years. Thank you so much, Francie. I really appreciate the support, the love. We're doing a sew along on our Trailblazer from bag stock this month. It's super fun. Go check it out. I'll link it down below. And I think we should get sewing this bag. What do you guys think? I hope you enjoy this tutorial. Let's go. Okay, I'm going to walk you through the pieces that I have for this Hellcat. I do want to note that you do not need to add every single bit of accent, vinyl piece, piping, all that. If you wanted to make it a more simple bag, you could take a couple things out. But it is those extra things that make this bag so amazing. Amber put so much cool little accent pieces and extra tiny little details into this bag. I would highly recommend at least trying one with all of them. She does have SVG cut files and projector files, I believe. If that's your thing and you would rather do that, I hand cut all my pieces. They were not hard to do. Totally recommend it. So up to you. I am keeping all of the extras in and I will go over all my pieces. Okay. So for the accent vinyl pieces, you have these two strap pieces. It is a 1.5 inch webbing piece with 1 inch snap hooks. So that's what these help. These help size down those hooks. So if you are opting out of this and you're just making a regular crossbody strap with no accent pieces, then your hardware gets changed out to 1.5 inch hooks. So keep that in mind. All right, my two vinyl pieces, and I have them interfaced where the hooks are going to hang right here. I have some Decaville light, and then I have them all taped up and ready to go. I have my little accent pieces for the D-rings. I am doing 3/4 D-rings on this one. My last bag, I used 1 inch D-rings. She has connectors for either option, so it's up to you. I'm going to see which one I like better. I'll compare the two. I think I'll like the smaller hardware on that. I'm doing 2 zipper overlays, one on the outside back and one on the inside. She gives options for regular zippers or overlay zippers. You have that option. So if you're not an overlay girl, do your zipper the regular way. But if you've never tried an overlay, I'm telling you what, it's 100% worth it. So 2 of those. I am doing the piping that she has in the pattern. I'm using an all bonded poly, Smoothie Smooth from Tulip Bee and bonded poly from Wonderground. We are not interfacing anything besides our vinyl pieces. I'm pretty sure that's the only interfacing that you use on this bag, and it doesn't really need it. I think it's a great pattern for this material. I love that the entire bag is made out of it. It's an easy cut. You don't have to sit there and interface a ton of pieces, which I love. All right, so I have 3 piping cords here, and I am using the itty bitty cotton cording. I will link it all below in the description. I think it's, what is the 3? I'll have to go look at my roll. It's the same stuff she uses in the pattern. So I have those 3 cuts of piping. I did it to the length that she says in the pattern. All right, my 2 main body pieces. I have my exterior and my lining. Make sure I did top and bottom centers, and then make sure that you know which one is the lid end and the gusset end. It would help to have it marked and labeled on your pieces when you're going through putting together your pattern. You will need the actual pattern piece too for zipper placement when we're putting this all together. I have my pattern piece C gusset. I have 2 of those. And again, it helps if you do your markings on the back where your front panel and your main panel are. Okay, and then I will mark my centers on those as well. Always, always mark your centers in bag making. It really helps. I have my pattern piece B front panel. I have 2 of these. And on her pattern pieces, there's a lot of guides and things that you need. So keep your pattern pieces with you as you sew. This is my exterior, and I already pre-marked and taped a lot of these zippers to make this video go a little quicker. So I would highly recommend transferring all those markings and getting that all done. And I'll go through that more when we start putting together the bag. We have our front zipper pocket lining and our front zipper pocket lining 2. So pattern piece D and E. I have 2 of those. And again, on piece D, I have it marked and taped. So make sure you go through and kind of pre-mark everything. I have 2 zipper pocket liners. I'm doing one with my exterior. I like to put an accent. If my lining is all one color, I like to accent it with the exterior and vice versa. So that's what I'm doing with these 2 pockets. And then I have my slip pocket piece here and my trim piece. Okay, don't forget your trim piece for your slip pocket. It's a very simple slip pocket. It's great. And then for things that you need hardware-wise, I have my, I love this webbing so much. This is handmade webbing from Emporium Threads. Guys, such good stuff. I have it in so many colors. I haven't used this bright gold yellow yet, and I think it goes so good with this bag. I'm using that, and then I have my 4 cuts of zipper tape ready to go. I have all of my hardware, 2 swivel clips, 2 3/4 D-rings. Again, that depends on which accent connectors you cut out. I did the 3/4 inch. I have my zipper pulls. You need a rectangle ring if you are doing the crossbody strap like she has in the pattern. You need a 1.5 inch rectangle ring. I do sell all of this hardware on my website, so you can get all of this on my website. I have my slider. And then I have a couple rivets for those D-ring connector pieces. And then I made a cute little tassel to hang off of it. I love a tassel clip, a zipper tassel pull. I'm kind of getting back into the tassel thing again. So again, I carry these on my website. They're so cute. And then I grabbed a few tags, some woven tags we're going to add in there, my name ones and some fun ones. I think that is it. Okay. I am so excited to dig into this bag. Let's go. Okay, so we're going to start with the first side here. I've got this piece. We are going to slide on my connector my swivel hook here. Okay. Beautiful. And then I'm going to take off the tape that I have. You could use glue probably. I'm a big fan of tape. But if your machine really does not like the tape, I would recommend glue. All right, so we're just going to center our strap right down on there. Okay, right there. And then I'm going to put a little name tag like she has on hers. I think it's super cute. Whoops, I did the tape on the wrong end. I think it's really cute if you have little tiny woven tags to put them on your connector right here like she does. It's adorable. So I'm going to center this and place it under here. I just put tape on it just like that. And so on my last one, I got some glue as well. And this middle section right here, I'm just going to put a little bit of some glue just to kind of hold it down in place. It's not necessary, You could totally leave it without it, but kind of like having it all together. So I'm going to glue that and just put a couple clips on it to hold it in place. Okay, I'm just going to go ahead and piece together the whole strap so you can see how that's done, and then I'll go and sew it. All right, so after this piece is on, you're going to take your slider and attach or slide that on, okay? Just like that. And then you're going to take your rectangle ring, slide that on, okay? Make sure you got your rectangle ring on. And then you're going to go up and over your slide here. So I like to go the one farthest away from me here, up and back down. Okay, just like that. And so then these two inside loop, these two are going to be sewn together. You could put a little piece of vinyl over that if you wanted, if your machine doesn't handle the thickness of the two of the webbing being folded over again, but mine handles it fine. So I'm just going to do it that way. So I folded it in under itself. Okay, and then I'll be sewing that. I like to do two, you could do a box stitch or you could do two straight lines. Okay, so far, that's what we're looking at. Looks good. Okay. And then with this side, we're going to get our other connector here. We're going to put our swivel hook through this side here. You see those lines that I transferred from the pattern piece? That's the placement of the swivel hook. Okay, beautiful. And then we're going to take this side, this longer edge, slide it through. And then I've got more fold lines. Those are my fold lines. That's where the hardware goes, okay? Fold lines, where the hardware goes, whatever you want to call it. So I'm going to move the hardware right there. And I'm going to fold this over evenly right there. Beautiful. Make sure you transfer those markings from your pattern piece. And then you're going to go this one and you're folding it at that line where that hardware goes, right there. Beautiful. So that's how it folds over, okay? I did put this on upside down. It would be best if that fold was on the other side, so I'll probably undo that, flip it around, because this is the front of the strap. I'm going to want this raw edge on the back. I'm going to do that real quick, and then we'll sew these on. All right, let's sew these connectors on. I'll probably go in fast motion, but she has a great little graph on her pattern of the direction of all of this, so I would recommend doing it that way. And she has you pulling through threads. I am probably just going to backstitch. I feel like my thread matches my vinyl pretty well, but she does go into pretty good detail about how to pull your stitches through and thread them in a knot and stick them under. So if you've never done that and you have the contrasting thread, go for it. All right, I'm going to sew both of these on. Here we go. I forgot to mark a line 2 inches up for your cross where you're going to come across, okay? On this first connector. I think it's different on the second one, so pay attention to that. Okay, that looks pretty good. I have one little here because of my hardware, but other than that, I mean, I'm happy with it. Okay, I'm going to move on to the next one. So make sure you mark that little turning point on here. Okay. Here we go. Okay, I'm happy with that. I am going to now just sew this strap adjuster. Which is a little hard for you guys to see. I understand that. I'll try my best here. Okay. And then I'm going to go ahead and do a second row of stitches, and then we'll be done with our strap. All right, I'll trim those up. But that is my cute crossbody strap. Let's move on. All right, so first off, I'm gonna do my zipper overlays. Like I said, she has instructions for the overlay method or just a regular zipper pocket, so choose what you wanna do. I am going to do an overlay on the exterior and the lining. So I'm just gonna get that out of the way now and be done with it. Yeah, and so the zipper placement is on your pattern piece. The top one is for your exterior. You just draw out the box. The bottom one is for your interior. Just trace out the box and you are good to go. So again, I'm just going to do them both together. I'm going to start with my exterior here. I've got tape down the middle, top and bottom. I'm going to just place it where we drew that box out. And it doesn't matter if you use like removable pin or permanent pin because we're cutting that middle section out. So that won't be seen either way. All right, and then I want to add one more little SiahSwag tag right underneath here along the back zipper pocket. I'm not doing a metal label. I'm just doing a couple of woven tags for this bag, which I think is kind of cute because it's got so many awesome places to put it. All right, so I am going to top stitch all around the outside of this. I will be pulling my threads through so there will be no back stitching. All right, so I'm going to start about right here. It's all done at a top stitch 1/8 inch seam allowance. And let's do this. I like to stop about right here and pull through those first 2 threads so I don't have a big jumbled mess at the end. Okay, got those 2 pulled through. I don't know if I mentioned in the beginning, I am using Caramel Tech 70 Bonded. It is one of my favorite browns that I carry. You can tell which colors I use the most because my spool is pretty, it's like halfway full. So I use Caramel quite a bit. It goes with a lot. All right, so turn this over and pull the other one through. Zoop. So I've got all 4 of my threads pulled to the back. So the front is just this continuous stitching and it looks really nice. Okay. So I'm going to knot these threads here and then I'm going to go ahead and go to my lining piece and just repeat the same process with that overlay and just get them both done at once. All right, so I have my box drawn out, and here we go. Okay, so after you have those sewn on, we're going to cut out this middle section enough so it sits away from our overlay. So that's what it looks like from the front. It's all cut away from our little window. Okay, I'm going to do the same thing on this side. Okay, let's put in our zipper. Okay, so Amber and I do our zipper installations pretty much the same way. So yeah, here we go. So I've got tape on both sides, right side of this zipper. I have tape top and bottom right side of my lining. Okay, I'm going to just start with one side here. Take the tape off the lining. I'm going to put my zipper tape right side up on the lining. And I cut my zipper tape about a 1/2 inch longer than the measurement in the pattern. I just always like to have a little extra zipper tape so I'm not scrambling if something happens and the piece is too small. So I always cut about a 1/2 inch longer when I'm doing pockets and stuff. All right, so I'm going to take this side off first, the top edge here. And I'm going to sew it along the bottom edge of my box. Okay, so I want to make sure this is centered. Now, another way to do it is to go ahead and just tape in your zipper tape and then add one side of the lining piece at a time. You can do that too. There's multiple ways to do this, you guys. Okay, so that's what we're looking at. I'm making sure that my zipper will be closing left to right. My pocket is laying flat under it. I am going to be sewing just a little bit before the box, 1/8 inch top stitch all the way down and end like 1 stitch after the box. I'll be pulling through my threads and tying them. So it'll be a nice continuous stitch when we're done around the zipper. And I won't have any back stitching, okay? All right, I'll turn that over, pull that through, tie it, and then we will do the other side. Okay, I like to put a piece of double-sided tape under this right here. So when I fold my pocket down the other way, it just kind of stays and it doesn't flip up into my face and get in my way. All right. This, pull down, and I'm just going to stick it. All right, so I like to place my zipper first. Looks good. And then I'll bring up this end and place it on the top edge of the zipper. Okay. So now I'm going to start here, come down, across, and stop up here. And finish that inside box. Here we go. Okay. Pull that through. Tie it, and then we will sew up the two sides. All right, so I like to do it with right side of the material up, and I fold it up out of my way on the side, and I'm going to sew up the edge. Okay, and that closes up that. Same thing over here. Beautiful. Okay, I can trim this zipper tape down just a little bit right there. All right, zipper pocket done. I'm going to just repeat that whole process for the lining pocket. I think with this one, I'll do a little bit differently. I'll show you a different way. So I'm going to completely place the zipper into it first, and then we'll add the lining side by side. Okay, so I'm just going to do this first. Make sure I got it. Yeah. Okay, so my zipper is fully in there. So I'm going to start with the bottom edge here and just repeat what we did. All right, I've got to do it this way though. I want to place it along the bottom edge. Okay. Okay, so I am doing piping. You do not have to do piping, but it does help with the shape of this bag. So this is a great chance for you to try something new. So do it. I've prepped it like she says. I've got my center notch here, and then a 1/2 inch from the end. I have some notches, which will help it kind of fold out of the way off of our bag. All right. I have some double-sided tape. Now make sure that you're placing this on the lid end of your exterior main panel. And I have this cut to the exact size that she says to do casing 1 in. Okay, so there's no like exact marks that I know of unless she added that into the pattern. She could have, but you're starting from the center and going down and out. Okay, raw edge to raw edge. I'm going to start with my center here. I did do some relief snips along the edge of my piping for it bending on that curve. I don't know if you can see. I just did some little 1/8 inch snips into my piping. It'll just kind of help with that curve. It'll help it lay better. So I'm going to go all the way down until that 1/2 inch right there that we notched in. And that's where we'll pull it off just like that to go off of our pattern piece when we're basting this on, okay? So I'm going to put this one on. You could clip this on too. You don't necessarily have to do double-sided tape. That's totally, you know, just a personal preference. I decided to do it how she has it written in the pattern. And don't worry if it's a little wrinkly right here. When you turn it out and it's going the other way, it'll be all good in the hood. Trust me. All right. So I'll be pulling this off too at that 1/2 inch. Okay. All right. I'm going to get you guys in so you can see. And I am just basting this currently. I am not doing my full seam allowance yet. Helps if you have a screwdriver or some kind of tool. Okay, I'm just going to kind of pull this off very slightly to start and just baste it on. And then when I get here, same thing. I'm just going to curve it off. Piping really isn't as hard as people make it seem. It's pretty straightforward. The trick is when we're sewing all the layers together to get right up next to the cording to make it look nice. That's the trickiest part of piping, is getting the correct seam allowance when you are doing your layers all together. Okay, so there is my piping on my lid. Beautiful. Next step. Okay, so we are going to do our slip pocket right here. I've got my trim piece. It's longer than my slip pocket. I'll have to trim it down. I've got my center marked and tape on both sides of that center line. I am going to line this up right under my center line. Usually works best for me. Okay, I'm going to just trim this down right there. And then I want to fold it evenly. Hopefully it's nice and even. You could even get a seam roller here and just press this down really good as you go. So I don't even have to clip it. Look at that. Beautiful. Again, great placement for another woven tag. If you want to put another one on there, I think I'm good on tags. I'm going to top stitch this down the trim. And the key is for that, turn it over and make sure that you caught the back side of the trim with it. I did, but I'm going to go ahead and do a double row just so I'm sure it's got both sides, and it kind of looks nice if you do a double row. As Susan says, you can never go wrong with a double stitch. This one's for you, Sue. All right, beautiful. I like that. I'm going to clean my needle real quick, make sure we're good. Okay, we are going to mark the center and add this to our lining piece that we have over here. And you'll be trimming this pocket down quite a bit. All right, so we're going to place it here. I've got the center of my lining piece marked. I am going to take those two, make sure my centers add up here. I feel like that's the most important part. And then I want to make sure that this is even with here. So I'm going to go, beautiful. Okay. And then I'm just going to baste the slip pocket onto my main panel and trim down my slip pocket. Okay. Just like that. I'm going to baste it from the back so I can kind of see what I'm doing here. My pole tends to get caught in between my machine. Oop, look at that. My hay pumpkin. We gotta make sure that's coming out. All right, here we go. Okay, make sure you like how that looks. Looks good to me. I'm going to trim this down so it's even with my lining piece here. Cutie, cutie. All right. Last step for this is to put our exterior and our lining wrong sides together, right sides out, and we're basting these two pieces. This is a bound bag, so make sure you're matching up gusset in to gusset in. These two pieces do have a slightly, it's not the same top and bottom. There is kind of a slight difference, so make sure you know which one is the gusset end and which one is the lid end. It does matter, okay? Just gonna clip these together. Beautiful. Probably gonna sew it main panel up because of the piping. Kind of makes it bow out just a little bit funky. Okay. Beautiful. Beautiful. Baste it together. Just look at both sides. Make sure you're looking good. All right. Next step. Okay, we are going to attach the piping to the gusset panels. One thing she has you do that's super important is you are measuring down from each of these pieces, both gusset pieces, 3/8 of an inch, and marking a permanent line. You want to be able to see that line. You don't want it to fade as you're sewing. I did it front and back this time on all of my ends of my gusset pieces. You have a Y seam in the end, and that's your beginning and ending point for your stitching. And that's the mistake I made on the first one, is I didn't have it well marked and I wasn't accurately like going straight there. So I think by drawing it very visually and accurately on all ends of my gussets, I'll have better luck with that this time. Okay, so our piping, one is longer than the other for your gusset because it's kind of a different shape on each side. So make sure that you know which one's your front panel. Casing 3 goes on your front panel, and then your main panel side is casing 2. The lengths are just a tiny bit different. So I have this taped. I'm going to sew it again. I've got that notch a 1/2 inch down. We're just going to pull that out and gradually have that go onto your piece. Okay, here we go. So I am again just basting. Okay, so now I'm going to go ahead and add the other side. I have my double-sided tape already down, so I'll take that off and center raw edge to raw edge and put on this second side of my piping. All right, so that is done there. We are going to baste this other gusset to the back, wrong sides together, right sides out. So know which one's the front panel. Make sure you match that up together. Again, they are not the same on both sides. And we are just going to clip this together and baste. All right, so we are going to attach one end of our gusset to our main panel. Make sure you are connecting the right two pieces here. This is the gusset end of my main body panel. And this says main body for the side of my gusset. Just make sure you're lining up the correct sides. Refer to your pattern pieces if you need to. Please, please, please. They are right sides, exterior sides together, okay? We're doing exterior sides together, and we are going to, first, we're going to baste these together, and then we will sew at our full seam allowance. So we are now going to be sewing along the piping of the bag. So here's where your seam allowance matters. And you need to know what measurement is right for you on your machine and with the piping that you're using to get right up next to that cording, okay? You don't want a lot of space in between the two. So for my machine, it's a 3/8 inch seam allowance. Again, that takes practice of knowing how you sew and all that kind of good stuff. It's taken me a while to get piping somewhat where I like it. I still have issues sometimes. The last one I made of this, I got too close my second time around on this, and I wasn't very happy with that, but that's just what happens sometimes. You got to find that sweet, sweet spot in between the layers. And I think mine is a 3/8, so we are going to try that. All right, and here also is where those markings we made on the gusset, that's gonna come into play. So we're gonna baste this together first, but we are starting at that 3/8 inch mark right there. Don't start at the top of your gusset. You need this to be loose. We're gonna start there. I'm gonna baste first. And then when I do my full seam allowance, I'm gonna try as hard as I can to get in that center right there of my marking, 3/8 inch down, centered, okay? Because I really am going to try to line up my two sides of stitching right there when we're all said and done. All right, so first, baste. And if you've been watching me for a while, you know I like to do gussets, usually laying on top, gussets up. Everybody's different. Everybody has their own way of doing things. If you like to sew it the other way, go for it. I feel like it's a personal preference and what is easiest for you. And this seam, all of our inside seams for our bag will be bound with, I'm doing fold over elastic, 1-inch fold over elastic. So just FYI. Okay, I'm going to stop again at that 3/8 right there. Not go past it, okay? All right, so I've got that all basted on. Now I want to take it at that full 3/8 and hopefully get right next to my piping. I'm going to start right in the center on that 3/8 inch line. Okay, here we go. I'm going slow because I want to get it consistent and even. Okay, I'm going to try and end right there where my marking is. Okay. Looks pretty good. All right, so the true test is turning this right side out and seeing what it looks like, okay? So let's turn it. Mine's a little wrinkly. I should have stretched it a little bit more, but actually it looks okay. I think if anything, I just need to go in right here a little bit more. Other than that, it's great. Okay, so from like here to about here, this corner, for some reason. I think it's because I had some unevenness, so I wasn't able to keep it as consistent. Okay, let's try that to get just a tiny bit closer. Right there is where I kind of veer off. So I'm just going to try and fix that. Let's see if that's any better. Yep, much better. Okay, there is my piping. I don't love the bonded poly for piping. Maybe Amber has a trick. I'll ask her for the wrinkles. I have wrinkles in mine. I mean, it still looks cute and it's going to look good when the bag's done, but I kind of prefer vinyl over the poly for piping, but I'll ask her if there's a trick that I'm not knowing. Okay, so that looks good. Let's continue. Okay, just a side note. I contacted Amber and said, hi friend, why is my piping looking like this? And I sent her a picture and showed her how it was just a little bit wrinkled along my edges. And she gave me a couple of suggestions that I'm going to try in my next bag. She said use wider tape when taping down the cording in between your casing. Okay, so I'll use a 1/2 inch tape, double-sided tape, and put my cording on that. The other thing she suggested is to baste the cording together, like when you fold it over to encase the cording, baste your casing piece closer to the cording. Okay, so instead of an 1/8 inch baste down my casing or my piping, I would do it probably 1/4 to get closer to that. And then that will allow you to do bigger snips, relief snips into the piping casing piece. So I can pull it a little bit more and stretch it over those curves. I think that was the issue, is that I didn't stretch it enough around these curves because my snips weren't big enough. So next time, bigger tape, bigger seam allowance when basting the casing piping piece together, and bigger relief snips so I can stretch it more around my curves. That's what I'm going to do next time. I feel like I will have a better result. I might even do a little video about it. Maybe. All right, let's get back to this bag. Okay, so we have our front panel piece exterior here, and on the pattern piece is all the markings that you need for this zipper box. In the pattern, she has all of the exact measurements for the folding, which I already have marked. I did my zipper box. I did tape right along the edges of the cut. And then I did my lines beside that to where I'm going to fold it. I also have my top zipper all marked and ready to go. So it's not confusing. Just read the pattern. It's not hard. I promise you. We are going to make our zipper box first. I have this cut already. So I'm going to take my double-sided tape off and I'm folding it down to that second line I marked there. It's just so you have a nice even fold and it looks really good. Okay, just like that. And then same with this one. I'm just folding it to that next line up here. Okay, so there's my top and bottom. Again, always helps if you kind of just press that. All right, and then I'm going to take my corner and press this out. Same here, corner, out. Beautiful. Okay, so that's what the back should look like when it's all folded. That's what your front should look like. It looks good. Okay, so I have my big zipper here. Okay, I've got tape, top and bottom. I am going to fit it into here. I think first I'm going to fit in my bottom piece. Maybe. All right, here we go. So you want to be sure you get that centered. It's easy if you flip the top of this up and you could kind of see it better to line it all up. I think it's a pretty wide, yeah, that looks good. Just want to make sure you kind of get that all evenly lined up there. Ooh, looks good. And then I'm going to Take the tape off the top. And now place the top part of it on. Okay, oh, she looks pretty. All right, and then I want to get pattern piece D. Pattern piece D, which is the smaller of the two. We have D and E left. All right, and I've already drawn my line here. I've got double-sided tape on the top. I'm going to take that off and fold this down to the line. Beautiful. If you want, you can go get that nice and pressed. And then I want to take some more tape along the back top edge of that fold. Okay, right there. Beautiful. What we're going to do with this piece first is we are laying it on the bottom edge of the zipper, just like that. Right side up, wrong side to wrong side, bottom edge of the zipper. If I can get my tape. There we go. All right, and then you want to make sure you're putting it up far enough that you are going to catch it in that top stitch that you're doing. So try and get it laying evenly as possible. That looks pretty good. Mine's way over to this side. You know what I'm going to do? Just a minute. Just a minute. Here's what I want to do. I'm going to take my pattern piece here so I know where my outside edges are. That's going to help because the zipper is not even. All right, so that should get it. All right. Looks pretty good. Much better. Okay, just like you do with an overlay, I'm going to start stitching right before the box here, come down and end right after, pull my stitches through too and tie them, okay? Looks good. And I caught the edge. I am good. I'm going to go ahead and pull through, tie, and then we will add the top piece. Again, if you don't care about that perfect little stitched box around and your thread doesn't stand out enough to notice, you can backstitch. You don't have to tie through, but it sure makes it look pretty. All right, now I'm going to get my last little pattern piece here. All right, this one, not my last, but. So I want to tape this one along the top edge of the zipper here, lining it up, okay? So I'm going to put some tape along the top. Okay. And I'm pretty much just looking and lining it up with my other liner as far as placement along here. Taping it along the top. Okay, beautiful. So your right sides of your pocket linings are together. I'm going to flip this back over, and just like we do on the overlay, I'm going to start here, come down, around, and end over here. Okay, same idea, just without the overlay. Moved. Yeah, it's fine. It jumped a tiny bit, but it doesn't look bad. Okay. Pull through tie, and then we are going to close up that pocket. Cute. All right, so now I'm going to just close up that pocket. I'm going to get kind of close over here. Okay, and then you can trim it down a little bit so it's not hanging out in your seam allowance. Make sure if you cut your zipper that you remelt the edges there, okay? This one looks okay. I don't really need to recut that one. Trim it down. Okay, so when you're done, this is the back, this is the front. We will continue and add this next part up here. All right, so we have one more zipper to add, and it's this top zipper here. Okay, so I have already done my markings here at the top of this piece. You want to mark 2 lines here and 2 lines here. And those are basically your cut and fold lines. So right here in the corner, you're cutting to this corner of your first 2 lines, okay? And we're laying back these pieces again to get a finished zipper edge, just like we did on our zipper pocket. My second line is my fold line. So that's the line that I'm folding to. I've already got it taped. I'm going to take off the backing and I am going to fold the tape to that line. I'm going to give it a good press with my seam roller, and I'm going to do that on both the exterior and the lining side of these pieces. Okay, so when you're done, it should look like that. Okay, all folded. So the next thing we need to do is grab your last zipper, right? This is our last zipper. And we are going to place it right there and sandwich that lining on it, right? So the zipper will be facing out. Sandwich the lining behind it. Okay, so that's what I'm going to be doing. I think what I'm going to do is put tape along here first. Just so it kind of stays in place when I put that zipper on. And then I'll put tape on the lining piece as well, to sandwich that onto the zipper. As you can see, Amber likes tape in bag making, and so do I. It is such a helpful tool, but you do have to be aware of your machine and how it handles the stickiness of it and what kind of tape you use. I like to use the Whack double-sided tape. It is extra sticky, and it does gum up the needle if you don't sit there and clean your needle off. So be aware when you are sewing with double-sided tape. That is my spiel. My spiel. All right, here we go. So you want the top of this tape, actually I want it going this way. The top of this tape to be equal with the top of the line, or the exterior piece right here. That's how you're going to measure where you're going to put it and start it. So I like to start it from this side, and then I will flip it over and make sure I'm getting it all even, okay? So we're going to start it about right there. Make sure your zipper is closing to the left, or, you know, depending on what you did on this pocket down here, you just want them to be closing the same way. Okay, I'm just trying my hardest to get this nice and straight onto that zipper and even with this top piece here. That looks pretty good. Okay, next thing I'm going to do is sandwich the lining on top, okay? And you really want to make sure this is nice and lined up, because when you go to top stitch this zipper, it needs to catch all of these layers. And if your lining piece isn't exactly where it needs to be, it might miss it, okay? All right, so I'm going to look at it this way first. I really want that to line up. I'm going to do a little clip right there. so it kind of lays even. All right. And then I'm just gonna try and get it laying even down the back here. Okay, that looks pretty good. Okay. Okay, so there's the back, there's the front. I'm gonna go ahead and just top stitch coming down here all the way across, back up here. I'm not basting these two layers together because first we need to add our connectors onto our exterior piece, okay? But we're gonna top stitch this first and then we'll add our connectors. All right, here we go. Remember my big spiel about tape? I can hear it getting sticky. So I'm going to sit here and wipe it with an alcohol wipe as I go. Now, if you don't catch both layers, your lining in this, it's not the end of the world. You can do a double top stitch and go around again to catch it. So don't be discouraged if you don't catch it the first time around. Okay, let's see how I did. All right, looks great from the front. Oh, do you see that? Missed it. Right there. That's okay. My first one I did, I caught it perfectly, so it was bound to happen. I'm going to go ahead and do another row of top stitching. You just barely missed it. I'm going to do another row of top stitching and it's going to be all good. All good in the hood. Let's do it. Just make sure if you do a second row to do it right next to the other one because you do need this layer to come up, so you don't want to do it too far out. Need to go one more little. Right there. All right, here we go. All right, let's see how I did the second time around. Got it. Got it. It's all good. See, no one's perfect, guys. It happens. All right, so now I've got both layers down. It looks pretty with the double top stitch. Not a big deal at all. All right, so I'm going to mark the center of my zipper first before I move on. I want to mark this center here. I'm just going to use a regular pen. I'm staying within my seam allowance there, so it won't show when it's all done. Come on, pen. I have a million pins in my crafty room. You think one of them would work? There it is. Just doing a tiny little notch mark, okay, of my center. All right, we are going to move on. We are now going to put our little D-ring connectors on. Okay, a couple things. Your pattern piece here has the cutout for the strap connector placement guide. So I just cut one out, place it on my piece, trace it, flip it over, trace it. So that's how I'm figuring out where to place my 2 connectors. I have them drawn on here. I don't know if you can see it, but it's with some air erase pen. The other thing I did was, for me, I flipped it over and I put a piece of self-adhesive woven interfacing behind where I'm placing these pieces, just to give it a little extra strength to sew through. We're also going to rivet them, so it's totally up to you, but I feel like that gives it just a little bit extra. All right, so here are my connectors with my 3/4 D-rings. I've got Decaville down the middle of them, and my double-sided tape I'm just taking off and folding them in half. They should line up pretty nice, okay? Right there. And then I'm going to take the tape off the back and place it on my outline. Right there. Okay, I'm going to do the same on this side. I found, though, so you have an option of 1 inch or 3/4. The 1 inch worked great. It was, you know, I had to be really aware of where they were when I was sewing the bag together, because it's a bigger piece of hardware, and it's, you know, by the edge of your seam. So I thought maybe I would try the 3/4 this time and see if I prefer one over the other. All right, and then I'm going to place this one right there. Okay, and now I'm just going to sew, pretty much top stitch these on. I'm going to keep the lining out of it, okay? I'm going to fold the lining up out of the way and just top stitch onto my exterior. Here we go. Make sure that you protect your hardware. You can pull through your stitches if you don't want to back stitch. I just did one little back stitch because my thread matches my vinyl. Okay, so put something behind your foot here if you've got vinyl behind it. I have some skip stitches. Look at that. Happens to the best of us. I could feel it. I think it's my sticky needle. Sticky needle. All right. You know, it's okay, guys. This happens. I'm just going to take it out right here. Not a big deal. Let's try again. I'm going to leave these ones in. I'm just going to start like right there and come back down and around and try my best to get in the same holes, okay? think it's the hardware behind my foot that's making it skip. Yep. It looks pretty good. I'm happy with it. It's got one, it's not necessarily a skip stitch, it's just a longer stitch right there where my foot was trying to get over my hardware. It happens. I'm happy with it, and then we'll be putting a rivet right through there as well. So I'm going to go ahead and do my second one here, and we'll move on. Okay, so I have my connectors on. I have my rivets. I did do an extra piece of Decaville Heavy behind my rivet just to give it a little extra stabilization because this is thinner material than vinyl that we're used to. So I just want to make sure it doesn't get pulled out. And now I just want to baste my two pieces together, okay? My lining and my exterior. We're just going to go around and baste these two together. We don't need them separate anymore. So I suppose if you really wanted to, you could sew this connector through both layers. It wouldn't hurt anything. You would just, the stitching would show on the lining side, which is why I'm pretty sure why she has you flip it up out of the way. I know on some bags, I stitch through all the layers and don't really care. So that is a possibility if you wanted to. All right, so now my layers are basted. We are going to attach this to the main body of our bag. So I have my center marked right up here. Okay, And I have my center marked on my lid side of my main body. That's where we're attaching this, okay? We are going right sides together, centered along the lid. And that is where, I'm going to use my better clips. I'm going to use my metal clips for this. That is where we are attaching this piece. Okay, here we go. I feel like if I open my zipper, it lays a little bit better as well. So I will probably be opening my zipper. All right, here we go. Okay, so that's what that looks like when it's put together. Okay, that's how it should be pieced. I'm going to baste this first, and then we will sew, I forget. Yeah, then we will sew at the full seam allowance. So basting first, a 1/2 inch before the zipper box. So you start about a 1/2 inch before and end a 1/2 inch after this zipper box right here. Okay, so I'm just going to place a tiny little mark right there so I know where to begin and end. It doesn't have to be, it isn't like the end of the world if this part isn't exact, and you'll see why once we put the whole thing together, but it's nice to have a guideline. All right, here we go. So I'm basting first, and then I'll do my full top stitch. I went to move the camera in and accidentally turned it off while I was basting. So sorry about that. So I did my basting stitch along the zipper, and now I'm going to go at that full 3/8 seam allowance along here. All right, so here we go, starting and stopping at that 1/2 inch too. I'm going to put my zipper in just a minute as I start. It'll just kind of help. All right, here we go. And because I'm sewing on the back side of the zipper, the teeth don't get in the way of my foot. So I don't have to change to a zipper foot like I usually do when I do a 3/8 inch seam allowance, which is kind of nice. So I'm keeping this foot on. I'm using my screwdriver to kind of smooth out that piping along the way as well, because I want it to be nice and smooth. Even though it might be wrinkly anyways, we sure are going to try. Right? Right. It's fine. Okay, I'm going to move my zipper out of the way there. All right, here we go. right. I'm going to turn this right side out and see how it looks. You know, my binding along my zipper lid looks a little bit better than my other. It looks good. Okay, not my binding, my piping. So we are getting there. We have somewhat of a bag now, right? All right, so now we are going to clip the rest of this bag, right sides together, wrong sides out, and connect the rest of this. We are starting and stopping, trying to line our stitching up right here at this Y seam. We're making a Y seam right there, so hopefully I lined it up better than last time. And then we'll bind our bag, you guys. That's it. Then we're done. Oh, I love this bag so much. All right. Okay, we're going to be doing 2 different steps with this. The first is, I did not mark my bottom center on this piece. And I always tell you to mark your centers on everything. Mark your bottom center. Silly me. Try the best you can if you didn't do it beforehand. Right there. Let me make sure that's correct. I mean, yeah, kind of is. Okay, there we go. We'll go right there. All right. Centers. Bottom centers. Right there. Okay, the first thing we're going to sew is just this main bottom seam all the way up to our Y seam right here. Okay, that's our goal, is to get it up to there. We're going to sew starting here all the way around to this one, okay, first. And then we'll work on this little curve on each side and get that situated to where it goes and sew that. So first goal is to get this big, longer edge together. And she does have you based before you do your full seam allowance. I am a big fan of that, especially around curves and important areas like spots with piping. It just assures that everything stays put and it doesn't move as you go at that bigger seam allowance. So we'll baste first, and then we'll go through at our 3/8. Okay, so that's what I have. Okay, so you should have it marked. We are starting our stitching right where it left off, right there. I'm going to put my needle in at that same spot and come down this way. But first, I'll baste it, okay? And then after that is all sewn together, we will be getting this little curve all situated and in there, and then we'll sew this little curve. All right, well, let's do it. Okay, so that's my basting. And now I'm going at the full 3/8. I'm going to try my best to put my needle in right where this stitching stopped, okay? Up here at the top. Right there. Ooh, baby. Okay, here we go. Whoops, and moved. Okay. Let's see. I think there's a spot right here. Oh, it looks pretty good. All right, I'm going to turn this out to make sure it looks good along the piping. I mean, as good as it can be with the way I did it. And then we'll turn it out again, or inside out again, to finish everything. That looks pretty good, guys. I think I'm happy with that. Oh, I did so much better on this Y seam this second time around. Yep. Okay, we're almost there. We are almost there. So all we have to do now is connect this little curve up here and here and then bind it. Okay? We can do this. Okay, so you just got to be aware of your D-ring when you're doing this little curve piece. So all we're doing now is fitting this curve into here, okay? I'm not sure with this Y seam. I think if you pull it out like that, it might connect the best. So I'm gonna pull mine out right there and clip it. Okay, and then get the rest in there. So this is my second one I've made. And I definitely have learned a lot with each one. And I feel like my third one is gonna be amazing. This one's good too, and I love the way this is turning out. But the piping, I'm still not 100% happy with. So I feel like once I do those tips and tricks to that piping and do a third one, I'm gonna be super happy. I already have it in my brain what I'm gonna do, and it's gonna be mine. So yeah. All right. Let's get this clipped in. Here. All right. So basically with this one, you're going to be starting where that previous stitching ended here, right? And following this curve and stopping here at your Y seam. So we're going to do that on both sides. I am going to baste first just so it doesn't move while I'm stitching it. And then after that, we're ready for binding. So it's pretty much done. All we have to do is bind our seams, okay? I'm just turning everything because if you need to fix any puckers or anything, now's the time to do it. Oh, you guys, that turned out so much better than my first Y seam. Got it. Yay. All right, and then that cute curve there. Beautiful. We did it. Yay. Love this bag. Okay, so here's our end result before binding, obviously. All right, so let's go ahead. I'm going to get out that elastic binding. We're going to do it on in two goes because you have to do one section first and then you do the other section. It's not hard, especially with fold over elastic. It's really easy. Okay, so you are doing the spine seam, which I was wrong. It's the one that's attached to the front panel and your gusset. So it's this one right here, okay? Not your slip pocket zipper side. So we're starting with this side. And I put just a couple pieces of double-sided tape along the beginning and end of this seam. I had a hard time with getting my elastic to stay where I wanted it to when I started and stopped. It wanted to move. So I thought if I taped the beginning and end in place, I might have a little bit better luck with it. So I always like to melt the very edge too before I start. Just tiny little run of the lighter, and I'm going to put it right up as close to the top as I can get here and just fold it over. So with elastic binding, it is very important that you give it a little stretch. If you do not stretch it, it will be super hard to sew on because it won't stay put. It'll move all over the place. You'll end up with a jumbled mess. So make sure as you go that you are giving it not a huge stretch, but enough that it's going to hug your piece and not want to move while you're sewing it. And that's something that kind of takes a little bit of practice, I think. The more you bind, the more you have an idea of how much you need to stretch it. Just from my personal experience, okay? I feel like I always go over one side more than the other. Okay. Now, if you are a person who likes perfection when it comes to your bag's binded seams, maybe fold over elastic isn't for you. There are many other methods that you can do of actual binding, like you bind a quilt. But believe me when I tell you, the inside bound part of your bag is not going to be the thing that people look at. Go to a store and look at bags in the store that are bound, and you will be shocked at how they do it, because our elastic looks 10 times better than what they sell in the store. So my point is, don't be hard on yourself when doing fold over elastic, okay? Give yourself some grace. All right, right here. If you have to go around a second time because you didn't catch both sides, totally fine. I like to match my binding with whatever thread color I'm using. So I am using caramel, so I have my caramel color binding on here. So the stitches aren't as noticeable as well. All right, so I took the tape off and I'm gonna stick it up here. Oh yeah, I feel like that's gonna work so much better with that tape on there. All right, and then I'm just gonna trim it right there. So much better. All right, highly suggest doing just a tiny strip of double-sided tape beginning and end right there. All right, so I'm gonna take this and go around this part first, okay? So again, this is the side that connects the front panel of your bag to the gusset. All right, I'm going to turn this over and see if I caught the other side evenly. Sometimes it shifts a little bit and you have to do a little second row, and that's okay. Look at the other side. I think I'm good. I caught both sides. All right, so that's my first side. So now the next one, the only tricky part about the next one is this little area, catching that with your elastic right there. If you don't catch this tiny little area, it's not the end of the world. It's up in the corner of your bag. Nobody is going to see it. Binding is purely for structure and the look of your bag, because you don't want raw edge seams. So if you don't get this little corner perfectly, it's not the end of the world, okay? All right, so we will do the second side. Okay, so I am going to sew these two pieces right sides together and match them up along the bottom seam. That's just the way I like to do it. I want to show you. That's how I'm doing it around this seam. So it kind of comes over it a little bit. Again, if you don't catch it in there, it's not the end of the world. It will be okay. Last note, you know I'm not a fan of binding around zippers. If you have been watching me for a while, I normally don't like to do it. But with this pattern, it helps with the structure, and I haven't found it to get caught in my zipper at all, especially when you put it on with the zipper side facing up, and just align it with your stitch line here. And it should be just fine. It won't get caught in your zipper pull. You should be good to go. All right, so we are going to attach this and then sew it on. Okay, so I have gone all the way around. I will check both sides before continuing to make sure that I caught the elastic on both sides. I think I did, actually. Yeah, I did. Okay, we're gonna turn this out. Usually there's at least 1 or 2 spots that kind of slip when you're sewing, but that actually looks really good. Yay! All right, y'all. Let's look at our Hellcat. Oh, so cute. Oh my goodness. I am in love with this pattern, you guys. All right. Oh my goodness. I'm going to put the strap on it and we'll stand up and I'll show it to you guys. But that is it. Yay! Front, back. Let's add our strap. Love it. We're all done. Oh my gosh. I absolutely love it. I added my little tassel clip on there. I think tassel zipper pulls would be really cute too. Added on my strap. I'm going to put it on and show you guys. Hey! Hey! I love this bag so much. I can't wait. I'm going to make one more because I have one more in my head planned already. But you guys, go grab this pattern. Go make this bag. You will not be disappointed. It is so fun. It's a little bit of a challenge with certain steps, but I feel like they are all things you can do and they are great things to learn. Go support an awesome human being. Amber is the best. And I'm so proud of her pattern. This is so awesome. Good job, Amber. Please like and subscribe if you haven't already. I really, really appreciate it. Let me know if you guys have any comments or questions. I will try to link everything that I used on this bag down below in the description. And you guys should be good to go. All right. Thank you so much. See you next time.